Kirk Hilliard.
And this is Rusty Byrd. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show, and we are blessed to have with us today two of Battlefield basketball's finest. All right, we've got Hasan Hammad and we've got Maddux Tennant. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So these guys are both seniors. So they've been a part of this Battlefield program, and especially these last 2 years where it's been really, really special. And so we want to get to know a little bit more about you guys, about your the last 2 years, and then, a little bit more about you outside of basketball, and then a little bit about maybe your friendship. So we'll get into that. But Kirk, why don't you first tell everybody where they can find us?
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. So our video editions are on YouTube, the Kirk and Byrd Show. It's BYRD. And then pretty much for every other platform, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and then everywhere you can find a podcast, Spotify, Audible, Google, Apple, we are there. So if you want to listen to us on the road, we've got some great stuff out there. We've had Battlefield folks on here before. Got a lot of Prince William, Christopher Newport, Tech, UVA, but he on high school. And we try to give the high school athletes, because they play harder than the pros and they play better team ball, we try to give them a lot of attention that they're not normally getting. So tune in and please subscribe to us. There you go.
Thank you, Kirk. So look, guys, I want to start off. First of all, you guys just have had a tremendous last 2 year run. I'm assuming it's the best run in Battlefield basketball history. To tell us a little bit about these last two seasons, and for those that don't know, they were the state runner-up last year. They lost to Hayfield in the state final, 2022 finals, but that Hayfield team might have been the greatest Class 16 ever in the history of the state of Virginia. They went undefeated. But to get there, they beat an undefeated Patriot team last year. And then this year, you guys were undefeated for a really long time. You played your rival Patriot in some great games. And so let's go ahead on and just talk about at least these last 2 years. Maddux, tell us about these last 2 years and maybe even before. What year did you start playing basketball at Battlefield?
Yeah, so I'm a 4-year player in the program. Started 3 years, sophomore year, last year, this year. Sophomore year was COVID year, so it's kind of a good tune-up. Good tune-up for these past 2 years because, shortened season. But we ended up playing Potomac, I think, that year, first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
But they were the 1 seed, and we brought it down to 1 minute to go. I think we were up, ended up losing by 2. So that's kind of the kickstart to my career. And then, going forward, I was just gung-ho on doing great things for this program. I think last year we had five losses for them, the Patriot, maybe
right.
6 losses. Made it as far as we could go. Unfortunately, we, fell 1 game short to an incredible Hayfield team. Obviously, won it back-to-back years, so we can say that. And then this year, regular season, we were 21-1. Only had 1 loss of Patriot, and that was the first time. We were looking to do the same thing, but unfortunately fell a little bit short in the first game of regionals, in the game that we needed to, win most. And that was where my career ended. And say that leading scorer and rebounded these past 2 years, which really, I feel is a great personal accomplishment of all the hard work I've put in. And I'm incredibly proud of my teammates who have been along this journey with me. And it's been a really, really, really fun 4 years. I'll definitely miss it.
Yep. You guys were fun to watch. Every game that I went to that you guys were involved with, it was pretty much standing room only. And I made a comment, and I'm putting them on the spot, but I said Hasan was the best basketball player that I saw this year, and I stand by that. Now, Hasan may not be 6'8" and shooting the rock, going to the NBA, but as far as a cerebral player, just a really good heady player. And then you guys also played unbelievable team ball. I noticed you had a great mental game. And some of the teams that I saw you play against, were more physically gifted, but you often prevailed. And I love watching those types of players. And that's a tribute to your Coach Bills. But now, Hasan, we've been communicating back and forth because you're going to Christopher Newport University, who just won the national championship in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So you're going to a great program. But you're coming to an end. You've been a centerpiece of the team. How's it been playing for Coach Bills? And you've gotten some really good rivalries with Patriot. You got a chance to go down to the VCU Siegel Center. How's the ride been for you? And, did you play all 4 years? Were you starting the JV? How'd that work for you, Hasan?
Absolutely. So I played 2 years on the JV team and got pulled up the end of my sophomore year. So during the COVID season, I played around 7 games on JV when our season ended, and then was a part of that first Patriot win we had that sophomore year, and then that Potomac game, which we ended up losing that one. And that kind of it didn't necessarily kickstart my career because I didn't really play all that much on varsity that my sophomore year, but we had that little moment as a group because we had 5 sophomores on that varsity team.
Oh, wow.
We had 4 of them were part of that team that stuck together this year. One of them, Austin Trout, is now at National Christian. And we created a bond, the 4 of us, and we kind of created a mentality that was, we have to win at all costs. And so thankfully, over the past 2 years, we were able to spread that into the program and kind of build a legacy that kind of stands with Battlefield.
Yeah, that's good. And the way that the playoffs are set up is it's been this way for a while, but the region does get to send 2 teams. So you guys have the opportunity if you're runner up. Rusty, I will find this in. We were talking to a couple other players the other night, but how about summers? Were you all playing together as youths in summer leagues or maybe AAU ball? Did y'all participate in that?
So Maddux and I were actually teammates on an Under Armour Rise team for the past 2 years, the Virginia Playmakers. So we built kind of a backcourt through that. I mean, you're playing 2 to 3 years back because it started right after that COVID season ended where we kind of built that. So it was that end of sophomore year, and it lasted until March of this year, where it was like we built that backcourt. AAU or on a summer basis, we Battlefield was playing in like one-day bumps at different colleges, which kind of nails both points. And what you want to do is like get the recruiting aspect and the team camaraderie and building that team chemistry in the off season.
Okay.
Yeah, and me and Haas can. We go way back to when we're like, just starting to walk and we're playing, church league basketball and DBA rec league. And, we work up the ranks in AU starting in 3rd grade. So we've played against each other forever. And that's what would attribute to this, high school career.
And it wasn't even just us 2. I think out of our team, we had 16 kids on our team this year. We had 3 that were new to those ranks, even though they were like 3-year players, 4-year players in the program. Most of the team, I'd say a majority of our 10 seniors that we had this year have been playing. I mean, that 10 seniors, I want to say 9 of them were on our 4th grade AAU team. So wow. we were very familiar with one another from the jump, and we've been friends since we were learning our multiplication tables.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Maddux, you're about 6'4"?
Yeah.
Okay. And what position do you primarily play?
He's off guard.
Shooting guard, small forward, but I can play 1 through 5, and I did play 1 through 5.
I was gonna say, yeah, you were one of the taller players on the Battlefield team this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They had
second tallest, 3rd tallest.
Yeah, they had a 6'6", 6'7" kid, I think. No, that was Patriot.
Not quite, unfortunately.
That was Patriot.
And then, Hasan, how tall are you?
I'm like 6'1.5", so 6'1", I like to say.
Okay, all right, yeah. I tell you, man, your games against Patriot, I've been to several over the years. It reminds me of the culture and the atmosphere of games back home. Kirk and I both from Hampton. We went to arch rival high schools. He went to Phoebus High School, and I went to Bethel. And Phoebus, and Kirk played at Phoebus, and I like. So he got to have mad game to have made that squad. And then, I played football, played a little basketball, not much, but I ran track. But Allen Iverson went to my high school and a few years behind me. And I'm just telling you, like, our rivalry games, there was passion, and there was the stands and the bleachers were just like your games with Patriot. And I love to see that. I also referee high school basketball. And I'll tell you, some of the best games I've ever ref were just being in an environment like that, no matter how much crap the fans give me. I remember one night I was in Loudoun Valley, and this was a long time ago. They've got traditionally had a good basketball program. And man, we drive all the way out there, and the place was like Cameron Indoor. Like the kids stood up the entire game, and they were bouncing and jumping, and it's just fun. So I like what I see up here with this atmosphere, because it's funny because you can go to one game and it could be like that, but then you go to another game and you're like, it's you don't hear anything. But you guys have had experience playing in front of some really big and great crowds. Now I want to talk a little bit about last year, because last year, wow, like your games with Patriot were just incredible. Do you guys get up a little more for that game? Because it's you weren't just rival, because you're rivals in all sports. I remember when Battlefield was built, but then Patriot was built, a little later. But you took some of the same athletes, took kids from Battlefield, and then I'm sure a lot of you all played youth sports together. But what is that rivalry like? Because and both teams are good in almost everything. So whether it's football, baseball, basketball, but tell us about that rivalry, because that's what we had when I was growing up. It was the Hampton Bethel rivalry, and it was like legendary. I played my last high school football game was standing room only at Darla Stadium, 15,000 people. But tell us about your this rivalry and maybe some of the things that you remember about it over the years.
Maddux, you want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. It's what you look forward to every year. Starting in middle school, I would be a fan. Me and Haas would be a fan coming after our middle school basketball games, watching Patriot versus Battlefield, just thinking that, one day we're going to be in this scenario. And, that time came starting last year. And I remember the first time, you run out onto that court, like you said, jam-packed, can't find a seat 20 minutes before the game. And then even during the game, it's just something you dream of and you can't really describe, but it's probably one of the best atmospheres for high school basketball public in the state, if not the country. And it's definitely something that you have to experience as a spectator and even as a player, if you get the privilege to. And it's, getting like ready for those games on game day. You don't think about school. You don't think about anything else going on in your life. You're just thinking about, man, Patriot versus Battlefield tonight, 7. Here we go. How can we get this win? And
I like the way you articulate it also.
Yeah. It's just almost indescribable, because you have to be there to really experience it. But it's definitely something will miss. And we definitely, in those moments, in those games, against Patriot, we, as a team, we left everything out there.
You have a particular game against Patriot?
Definitely the state semifinals last year.
I was going to say it's got to be that.
Who hit the winning shot? Who hit
Bryce
that?
Hammersley. Bryce Hammersley.
Yeah, that was incredible. I was frantic. It was like an NC State against Houston in '83 moment. That dates me.
Yeah.
But yeah. How about you, Hasan?
Yeah, I mean, the way that rivalry's been since I've gotten to witness it and be a part of it, it feels like every time you're there, they somehow find a way to fit more people into that gym, which you thought was packed the game before. And every game seems louder. and the emotions, you always feel like a little more emotional about each and every game, just because, I mean, you're playing Patriot Battlefield. And like we've been playing with those guys since we were little, at least most of those guys since we were little. And so you always, like, I can tell you, like, okay, how Jay plays, how this guy plays, how that guy plays, how everybody on that team works, because they know the same thing about us. And even though we both know how each other plays, just in the moment of that game, it feels like nobody makes a mistake and everything goes well for everybody. And like, for us, at least, it felt like, I mean, Coach Bills are always like, every time we come out, we huddle up with about 5 minutes left. And this happens for every game, but in those games specifically, he would bring us in and he'd be like, listen, just take it in and have fun. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Down to was just taking in that environment and having fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that we always give people questions ahead of time, so they get an idea of some of the things that we're going to talk about. But I wanted to talk to you both about recruiting. But before we go to that, there's a common denominator, and that's social media, because it's so different now. So what I was going to ask you is, it seems like the rivalry between Battlefield and Patriot seems to be a good sportsmanship rivalry. But I wanted to ask you, what's being said back channel? You need to tell me specifically, but there's got to be stuff back channel, because I tell you, in football, we've got coaches that are 50 years old sending tweet messages to kids 16. Shame on them. I mean, is there good stuff going back and forth? Is there a lot of chippiness that maybe the adults don't see?
For the most part, between players, I wouldn't say there's too much chippiness. Just like I said, we've known each other forever. We're friends off the court. It's just on the court, you're wearing a different uniform than I am. I'd say student sections, that's a little different. It's a little different of a situation. And there is a little bit that goes back and forth. Because, I mean, I grew up in the Patriot area. I was zoned for Patriot growing up, and moved over in middle school. And so for me, it was like, they've known me forever. They know what I was when I was little, and like everything about me at that point. So definitely student sections, they'd find things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when
that information that's out there now,
mm-hmm.
You know, you can find out your mother's name, your sister's names, everything in the world, where you live, and all that stuff. So
exactly,
I imagine people get pretty.
But that's the same thing. What Hasan said, though, was like my high school's arch rival was Hampton High School, but all the way up until middle school, I thought I was going to be a crabber and go to Hampton. And those were all my friends, and I wanted to be a Hampton-let crabber, and they've won, like 17 state championships in football. So I knew I was going to be a crabber. And then we moved, and I'm going to Bethel, the arch rival. So all those guys from elementary and middle school, man, and we had played either on the same youth football teams or against each other, and they knew how to, really like, boom, they hit you and then say something about something you did stupid in middle school or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a whole lot of like, when I was growing up, it was like, okay, I'm gonna be a Patriot guy. It was like Patriot, Unity Read were like the two options I had. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna be one of those two. And then like as things progressed into high school, it was like, okay, like my family was very involved in the community. So it was like, okay, I'm still part of that community. And then as things shifted when we moved, it was like, oh, that's how things are going to be, is where it's now it's a part of this community. So
yeah,
worked out.
What you talked about, I saw, like I said, several games over the year, but what were your scoring averages? Maddux, you led the team in scoring this year?
I did, yes.
What did you average?
Average about 14.5.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Hasan?
I was sitting around 12.4 this year.
Okay.
It's got a lot of parity with a lot of guys scoring, by the way.
Well, that's how we talked about that with Patriot. Patriot has so many good athletes, and the scoring is balanced. Like, you can't focus on one, because tonight, Isaiah Vick might hit you for 20, and the next night Jay Randall or whatever. So it's very reasonable that you guys average about that amount. But I'll tell you this: I think it was the first Patriot game. Hasan, you had 29, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I thought you played a great game. But one thing I remember about that game was we're all in there. The gym is starting to get packed. And what happens? Boom. There was a fire alarm.
Yeah.
You all remember
I honestly
that?
forgot about that.
Because we were ready to come out for the warm-ups because it was like end of the fourth, but like a minute left. And so we're all lined up
In the JV,
and
right,
we're wearing our shoes, wearing our uniform, and they call the fire alarm. And I remember half our team just like took off their shoes because you don't want to get the shoes outside.
You don't want to,
like,
yeah, you don't want to wear
so,
them
like,
out there.
Me and a half our team was just like taking off our shoes and walked outside with socks. And it was like,
I remember it.
And everybody was looking at us and they were like, this team doesn't have their shoes on. They thought we weren't prepared. and we had to explain it like, no, it's because we want to be overly prepared and not have that dust on our shoes.
Right.
And it was freezing that night too. So we were out there in a basketball uniform 2 minutes before the game.
I remember you guys in shorts outside, and I was like, oh, yeah, and it was cold. Yeah.
So I'll go back to the second part, kind of transition into recruiting. And then we want to profile you guys, just talk to you about, how old we are, fossils, your music, your theater and fast food. We have great questions, but so the recruiting process, both of you've got about 11 weeks left in high school. I remember those days fondly. Rusty, what was it? 36 years ago. And
for me, it was about 6 years ago. I don't know.
Right. So the thing is that Hasan, you've committed to play at Christopher Newport. We just won the men's basketball national championships in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And then Maddux, you're trying to decide which sport you're going to play. And you're looking at some smaller D3 schools in basketball. And then you're also looking at possibly walking on in some big schools. How has that experience been? And since you're all set, Hasan, let's start with you, Maddux. Because you've got some choices that it's winding down. You're probably going to need to make a decision here, probably, I would say, in the next 6 weeks. How has that been, both from an exposure, because people can watch you play on the internet everywhere, and how do you feel is the pressure on an athlete now, because everybody knows what you're knows what you're doing? I mean, you guys are putting your mail on there. What do they call them, Rusty? Your son was recruited. The graphics, when they give a nice graphic. And how's that been, Maddux, both from an exposure and possibly pressure?
Yeah, I have no experience or any siblings who kind of went through this process. It was all new to me, and it all hit me like a brick wall, and I had to take it in and, learn and grow, expand my outreach to coaches from all over, both sports, football, basketball, start applying on all these schools, have backup options, have backup options. And then going forward, I just wanted to make sure I had options because it never hurts. And now that time's winding down, May 1st is my deadline to make a decision. I have the options. Now I just got to figure out what to do with those options.
What other sport do you play?
Football. I play football.
That's right.
I'm punter. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I could.
So yeah, Maddux, I will say that you guys do not have to say this. I will say it. One, because I've coached for the past 20 some years, and I have a son that's just gone through it. He's class of 2023 with you guys, and he plays football, runs track. He'll probably do both. I know he's going to play football. He'll probably run track in college as well. But I'll tell you, you guys, and this is true, man, unfortunately, you got caught up with this COVID and this transfer portal thing, and it changed recruiting, especially for the high school athlete. It is no reflection on how good or great you are as a high school player. It's just hard now, to have some of the same options you as players and what your skill and your production might have had a few years ago. And I tell you, first I thought it was, just impacting the football players, because that's what I saw with my son. My son, started playing varsity. He moved up from freshman football to JV to varsity by the time he was as a freshman. And you know, he played 2 years at Coke, and then he went and played at private school at Bishop Ireton. And, you know, there's all this recruiting and interest in there, but coaches started being honest. Like last year, they were like, look, man, the reality is we got these kids with COVID year, an extra year or two, someone like 5 to 6 years playing. Then there's also just the reality that, you know, with the transfer portal, and a guy like my son was going to a lot of big D1 schools and programs and stuff, but then they just started being honest. Coaches were like, look, man, like the percentage that we're weighing for the high school athlete is less than 20%. We may go 40% transfer portal, 40% JUCO. And it's just because they've seen those kids do it on the college level, or, you know, they can be successful in college with their grades and maybe they're not getting in trouble. And you've seen it. And so it's helped some kids to go from, you know, Division II to Division I, lower Division I to major Division I, major programs.
In that way, I think it's good. In that way, I think it's good.
It helps people, and it helps people going up and coming down, because there are some kids that are going to schools that they're not getting that time, but they go to another school. And my point is this: just go when you find a place that feels like home, go there. It doesn't matter what level, go there. One, any school you should be going for education, but if you ball out, it'll take care of itself. Yep. Like I told my son, you're where you're supposed to be, no matter what. Okay. And if you're supposed to be here, there, or whatever, fine. They'll find you. You'll have options. But otherwise, go there and get your education, enjoy playing that sport for another 4 or 5 years, and it's going to be all good, man. And you all, I understand you are also good students, and that goes a long way, a really long way. So let me ask you this: if you guys, okay, so you've played together, but you weren't always on the same team, were you? Like, when did you guys first meet each other? Were you first on a team together? Were you playing against each other? Were you always like, man, that kid right there, you know, he's a problem? When do you guys first remember meeting or playing against each other?
My first thought was Hurricanes. That's what I remember.
Before that, with Gresham. It was third grade.
Oh,
what could it have been? It was either the second grade all-star team or the third grade.
That might have been it, yeah. Yeah,
or it was we played together on the same team in third grade with a coach of ours, Coach Gresham, and it was Gainesville Elite, wasn't it?
I think.
And we had a killer diamond press that we would just run up the score on other kids, and it was amazing.
You guys know Isaiah Abraham and Patrick Agongba?
Yeah, that's
Paul 6.
Yeah,
they were on that team with us.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So y'all won, right? You won the championship, right?
Undefeated.
Okay. Undefeated, right? Okay. Yeah, I played. So when we were coming up, Kirk and I, we didn't have AAU basketball. That hadn't come out yet. In fact, Kirk played at the high school and is friends with Boo Williams, who really started AAU basketball down in the Hampton Roads area and runs one of the best AAU programs in the nation. But back then, we didn't have a whole lot of youth basketball. And I was talking to my friend Russell, who played basketball with Kirk in high school. And I was like, you know, we really weren't, you know, there was no like everybody could play type thing. Back then, you tried out and you either made the team or you got cut. So I was telling him, like, we really were
made it. Only the best.
Yeah, only the best made it. And I say that not that I was good. I made the team and I was not good, especially in my first year in 5th and 6th grade. Later on, I got better. But I'm like, yo, we were the AAU star. We were the best kids in the city because they had legit cuts. You know, and it was like, no, you didn't even have another option to play. Like, so, but I'll say, having coached my kids in youth basketball and things going through, like, you can tell when, okay, that kid, okay, he's pretty good. Like, I'm going to, like, and I joked with Dwight Vick on social media today about, you know, whenever I coach, I always kind of stack my squads. You know, like I would have watched you two guys the year before, and when you beat me, and then I'd have been like, hey, why don't y'all come play for me? You know? But so when you played together, but did you ever play against each other?
We went to different middle schools growing up, and that was like the first time where it was like you might have like flip-flopped from teams growing up, but at the same time you're like, it's AAU when you're in like 5th grade, so it's not the same. But I remember he went to Bull Run, and I was at Reagan at the time.
Reagan, you were at Reagan? Okay.
And we only had 2 losses on the year, and both of them we went 1-1 that year. And so we had 1 game to Maddux, and 1 game we lost to Gainesville, which had an 8th grade Isaiah Abraham at the time. And I remember because we were 1 game behind Maddux to tie up the championship. And so all of us Reagan kids went to that Gainesville Bull Run game in Reagan here. And we sat in the top left corner, and we're praying Maddux missed a free throw at the end of that game. And of course, Maddux, being the shooter he is, went 3 for 3 from the line to seal that game. And it was just, I didn't necessarily like the fact that Maddux hit the percentage of shots he did in middle school.
Okay. All right. Guys, Kirk, I'll let you guys some more questions, but I do want to ask you this. So you've played against each other, you've played together. Who were some of the major influences in your basketball or athletic careers? You know, if you played other sports growing up, and was basketball always your number one sport?
Max, you want to take that one first?
Yeah. So growing up, I start off playing soccer, but I gradually moved into basketball and wanted that to be my primary sport. And then growing up, my father is probably my biggest and main influence, from teaching me how to shoot when I was 6 months old, probably not that young, but probably like a year or 2 old, with the small basketball.
No, you might have been. I can tell you, my 6-month-old son, I was throwing a football at his face, and he was doing to catch the ball.
Yeah, so maybe. I don't even remember that long ago, but yeah. So my father, growing up, just always pushed me, and he was one that taught me, the right way to play basketball.
Is he a good?
Yeah,
he played.
Athlete? He played Division III at Emory and Henry.
Oh, he did.
Okay.
Really?
He did. He went to Oakton.
Where did he go to high school?
Oakton.
Went to Oakton?
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll talk about that offline. I bet I know some people that know him. We know a lot of Emory and Henry people. What about how about you, Hasan? When you think about it, doesn't have to be a coach, but just a major influence.
For me, it was definitely my dad. My dad never really told me, he never, like in the sports world, he never made me pick. It was always like, okay, whatever you're interested in, like you can do. So at the age, we played tennis, we played soccer, we played lacrosse, team handball for a while, everything. The only sport I never played was baseball. But for the most part, my dad and then my grandfather, he was a Team USA Olympic handball coach. So he had that kind of professional sports background. And I remember during COVID, he lived with us, and he had I had that one conversation with him where I was just sitting down, like not doing anything. He's like, "What are you doing?" It was like 2 in the afternoon. He was like, "You got to go outside. Like, just go and train." He's like, "It's 2 o'clock. It's like 70 degrees outside. Like, you're wasting time. Go outside, go train." And so definitely like that is one moment that definitely stuck with me from him.
Yeah. So Rusty, I was going to transition to kind of the getting to know these guys personally. And I just want to say at this point, at 34 minutes, you both are very impressive. You know how to talk to adults. You're very good communicators. I know you're good students. So don't screw up, because you got an awfully good looking future coming ahead, because being able to communicate with people is the key in life. I don't care what you do. It's about relationships and having fun. So,
listen to him, man. Be your John Morant, dog.
What do y'all do for fun? What do y'all do for fun away? Rusty and I.
Look, man, Kyrie Irving and John Morant. That's who you should be your role models.
Oh, yeah.
Off the court. I'm just messing with you.
No, so if you guys ever saw Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
no.
Went to the mall going to the mall, all that stuff was about what do you guys do? Like, what's the scene? And by the way, a lot of people our age used to go places and drive around and you see people. So now, do you guys have a spot like out in Haymarket or Gainesville, or what are you doing? Are there spots? Are there certain restaurants you go to? I mean, what's the scene like for a high school?
Kirk, let me tell you where. Let me show you where they socialize. This is their spot.
Nah, come on. Tell us we're safe. You're not. You guys aren't texting a girl when she's across the room instead of talking to her, are you? So,
no, of course not.
I know. So, tell us about what it's like in 2023 to be a high schooler on the social scene. Are you having get-togethers? Are there places? I mean, you guys have those, right, Maddux?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't call myself the most social person, but I'm social when I need to.
Okay.
More of a family man, but I will, go out, with friends, catch a movie in town or, go out to dinner, go bowling. Just like with the social aspect, I kind of just like let it flow. Like,
yeah,
I just don't force anything. If I get invited, I show up, I communicate, I build relationships.
right.
But out here it's fun. There's, golf, fishing, tons of gyms. You can go lift,
Mhm.
Great restaurants, places just to walk, shops.
Yeah.
Obviously the movies. It's just, let it flow.
Hasan, what about you?
Yeah, along with what Maddux said, Haymarket's not. It's kind of disconnected from a lot of things. You're about 30 minutes from Leesburg, and Loudoun County, you're about 20 minutes or 10 minutes from Gainesville.
Right.
I'd say, like, our team specifically, we frequented IHOP quite a bit.
That's what I was looking for. Okay.
Yeah, we were at IHOP. There's a nice little IHOP place about 10 minutes away. It's never too packed. So you can walk in, and we were going there most Saturdays after practice. And along with what Maddux said, just a lot of friends just hang out together, go to each other's houses and whatnot. And the gym is another big spot. One Life, there's a One Life like 5 minutes away from the school, so that's a big spot.
Now, Uncle, so you mentioned, and I've said this before, you just mentioned going to a gym. I don't see people, I won't just say youth, but people out just playing ball. Was there ever a spot where like people know to go meet up and play ball outside? And like there could be places, but there's also different levels. And Kirk and I've talked about this before. Like if you went to this outdoor court, you could play if you had this level. But if you go to this place, you better have some game. Are there places like that? It even exist on that side of the county?
Yeah. So there is. I know we have a group chat at Lifetime up in Gainesville, which is like 15 minutes from it's not too far. And it's a college basketball player group chat. We got guys like Caleb Furr and Devin Parrish from Christopher Newport. You got guys like Chase Nelson, who just committed to American International College. Corny Davis, I know he was playing up in New York at a school. I don't remember the name of it. And then I actually work at a gym in Manassas called K Sports, which during the summer, the trainer there, Chauncey Beckett with MVM training, he gets a constant rotation of guys. Blake Francis, who played over at Richmond.
Blake Francis's dad and I graduated from high school together and played football together.
Was that Carl?
That's CJ. That's CJ's son. Yeah. He played on that Westfield team in one state.
Mm-hmm. And you'll get guys like Brandon Slater, who will come in every once in a while. The pretty regular group that we have, Tyler Perkins, UPenn commit, Isaiah Abraham, Patton Gonba, Deshaun Harris-Smith, and those guys. Just the other day we were running a 5-on-5 game, and you got probably 6 or 7 college guys on that court.
Yep.
Okay.
Abraham's dad is from Hampton. He went to Kickingham about 4 years after us. Faisal Abraham, I think is his name.
And he went to Marquette.
Oh, yeah, he was good. And his aunt is very, very good, too.
Yeah.
She was coaching GW. So, along with your personal lives, what about, what are y'all into? We'll start with cinema. Are you streaming? Because when we go back to our time, we're quoting movies. You probably noticed that from a lot of older folks. There's movies we grew up with that we'll never forget. We quote them. So when you're 50 years old, what streaming series are you going to be quoting, or what are some of the classic movies? I mean, they're being made right now for you, but what's some of the stuff y'all are into, Maddux?
Can't handle the truth. They don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm actually meaning to watch that movie.
Okay.
I'm actually a big movie guy. I like old classic movies. I like probably 1980s is my cutoff. But I like a good 2000 movie, and then recent movies are I really enjoy watching. Like the Mission Impossibles with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And Christopher
Did you
Nolan's
guys see
movies
Top
about
Gun
space. Yeah, Top Gun.
Did you like that?
That was
I did a lot.
really good.
A really good movie.
Times.
And we saw the original Top Gun back years ago, and Tom Cruise is the man. Okay. What about you?
I went back to
go ahead, Maddux.
Yeah, one quick thought. I went back to watch
the
original Top Gun because I knew I was getting invited to watch the new Top Gun. So I'm like, shoot,
that's what I did.
I gotta watch the original.
Yep. All right. So are you watching anything now? Like Rusty and I will watch Last Chance U, both football and basketball. I like the basketball better. Like any of the stuff that's out there, popular streaming, whether it be Yellowstone, Outer Banks, Ozark.
Awesome. Take it.
Yeah, at the moment, I've been trying to catch up on Breaking Bad. Never got the chance to watch it, and then people started like hinting at it, like, "Hey,
me too.
Watch. This is the one." So I'm on like season 1, episode like 6. Like,
let me just say something, son. Okay, so so it's Breaking Bad, and what's the other one? It's the one that came.
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul, right?
Better Call
Breaking
Saul?
Bad. Let me tell you something, Hasan. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and Dan Libertor was always talking about Breaking Bad. And I'm telling you, I could not get past probably I started the first 3 episodes like 5 times over like 6 years. You got to get, so I understand if you're still in season 1 in those early episodes, it just didn't do much for me. But once I got through near the end of the first season, like, oh, I get it now. So I will say it took me a while to just get into Breaking Bad, and then I was hooked. So you're not alone.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely something I've been like trying to dabble in, and it's just like trying to get into that show.
And when you turn 18, The Wire, it's not fit for minors, but it is off the chain. That was made when you guys were born, like early 2000s. And Rusty, half a episode, you're hooked.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And very real, by the way. It was a police sergeant and a media guy that headed that up. And it's about Baltimore and the drug trade and things that go on up there. And there's been a bunch of people that say it's the best ever. But switching to music, we're getting so old that we talk about now that we don't like everything and it sounds bad. So we sound like our parents, But what are you guys into? Like what's on your playlist for hyping up for a game? Some of those things, Hasan.
Playlists for like hyping up for a game. A lot of rap. I got a lot of Lil Baby on there. Every once in a while, you get J. Cole thrown into the mix. But in terms of like just driving in the car, I really don't have like a specific music taste that I like. I'll mix and match with like different genres like country and rap and hip hop and all that. So I don't have like a specific person I listen to, but definitely dabble in everything.
How about you, Maddux? Same?
Yeah, I'm right there with Hoth. It's basically how the mood is. Pre-game, it's obviously rap. But I kind of like the calm rap, like a J. Cole or Kid Cudi or something like that. Not too hyped because I don't want to get like overstimulated. But I also like some good country. And I don't even mind 80s and 90s. Like I don't even mind me some 80s and 90s.
Oh, that's great music. That's great music now.
Yeah.
See, something we've never asked these kids, and I just remember how big concerts were? I remember my first concert. It was Duran Duran in 1983. I was 14. But do you guys, and by the way, getting a t-shirt was a big deal. Like Van Halen came out in 1984, Rush, but I don't hear you guys talking about that. I mean, you got George Mason, and in the summer you got the amphitheaters. We didn't have that, but are y'all going to concerts?
Yeah, it's definitely a big thing, more in the summer, just because everybody's going to them. So Jiffy Lube, which is about 15 minutes away, not far, and they typically bring a good list. I know last year they had Pitbull, they had Wiz Khalifa, and those were just the hip hop side of things. They had a lot of country. I know this year they're rumored to have Kehlani, they're rumored to have Wiz Khalifa again, the Snoop Dogg. They typically bring out a pretty good group. And so I know, like, other than the stuff that's at Capital One this year, that's typically a good move for the summer.
All right, good deal.
I'll tell you, I didn't go to a lot of concerts growing up, but I did go when I was like maybe 5 or 6. We saw them, like the Jackson 5 in concert. Then I saw them again when I was in the 7th grade, and I saw them both at the Hampton Coliseum. But Kirk, I just this past Friday, I went home to Hampton to see New Edition, and it was a great concert.
I didn't know that was New Edition.
Yeah, I went to see New. It was New Edition,
okay.
Keith Sweat, and Guy. But let me tell you this: I don't know if people. And let me just say something, Kirk. The inside of Hampton Coliseum looked like it did 40 years ago.
Oh yeah, they've done
nothing. But it was packed. It was packed. But I tell you, the funniest thing is, like, the best concert I've been to recently was actually Kirk Franklin. It was at George Mason. He put on a show. I mean, an outstanding show. But the same concert I went to on just this past Friday, I looked it up. The exact concert was on YouTube for free. And I told my wife, I forwarded to her, I was like, we could have saved a lot of money and just put this on our stream. No, I know. And that's what my wife is like. I just love that atmosphere. I'm like, yeah, but I paid for these tickets. And if you knew what I paid for these tickets, you would have watched it on YouTube with me. but I just wonder, because the price to go to some of these concerts, who is it? What's her name? They finally, Taylor Swift. Like, that's like a big deal just to get her tickets, and they're so overpriced. And Beyonce. Yeah. I mean, but some people do love that live atmosphere. So I get it. And okay. So we got a couple other real quick questions for you guys. But before I go into my basketball type outside, who are some of the athletes you guys look up to? It may not necessarily be basketball. Outside of Ja Morant and Kyrie Irving, who are some of the athletes or basketball players you maybe try to emulate, or you just like their game?
I actually want to take that one first.
Yeah, sure. Michael Jordan, number one. Muhammad Ali, close second, is up there. I actually look up to Bradley Beal, a more recent player.
Okay.
And yeah, those three are my top.
Okay, Hasan.
For me, I really like the whole package that LeBron James brings, both on the court and off the court. Every single research project I've ever done in school has been on something that he's done. And then another one is Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf from I couldn't name the era he played in, like the 90s.
You talking about it used to be Chris Jackson.
That's Chris Jackson. That's
Correct.
Chris Jackson.
Yeah. They Showtime, I think, just did a doc on him.
Correct. I watched that. Actually,
I just watched it.
I watched that the night CNU played in the Sweet 16.
Did he have Tourette's? Did he have Tourette's syndrome? Didn't he have Tourette's syndrome?
Yes, I believe so. And so those two are definitely up there in terms of people that I look up to. And then from a non-basketball standpoint, again, I'd probably have to do Muhammad Ali.
Okay. Kirk, what about you? You have a top 2 or 3?
Probably Jordan was just so different. I mean, the NBA was terrible. The games were on tape delay, and then Bird and Magic came in. There was that Lakers Celtics. That was fun. But Jordan was doing stuff that you guys see all the time, the above the rim stuff. it was a miracle when he dunked from the foul line. Now you got guys at, LA Fitness doing it. They're in the 7th grade. But so Jordan was exciting. And then, we came from glorious years of football. I liked Dan Marino a lot, but I like, I got a lot of fond memories of the great college players that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But one point I was going to make, and I won't, is I like when I want to see a player. I'll make that point because I've been in sales for a while, technology sales, and a lot of it, it's a tough job, but you get suites and you can't watch the game because you're working with customers. But I was in Charlotte one time and they were playing the Lakers and I had never seen Kobe play. And the whole game, pretty much, I was watching Kobe play. And I was also at the Cap Center, or whatever they call it now, Capital One, MCI, all those things. Ovechkin broke a major record, and that was incredible. But I like it when you say, man, I got to see this guy play. I got to see. And Jordan was that way. I got to see Bird play. I never saw Jordan play. So I like to think of guys like, you got to go see him play. And, there are some now. LeBron's one of those. So that's my take.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, of the athletes I grew up seeing, because I got a lot of respect for some of those athletes that were going through like the civil rights movement. So like the Bill Russells, Muhammad Ali, and the way a lot of those guys kind of came together to take a stance on some things. But my favorite 3 athletes growing up, and I would say, I guess of all time, are Magic Johnson in basketball. I just loved his smile and the way he carried himself in his game. And then in football, it was Walter Payton, my favorite player of all time in football. I tried to run the football like him. I wanted to wear his number, all that stuff. And then in baseball, it was Cal Ripken. So Cal Ripken was a Baltimore Oriole. He has the longest consecutive playing streak, and he led the Orioles to the '83 World Series. So those are some of my childhood, and even as an adult, I would say those are the guys I kind of really looked up to and respected. For me.
Yeah. Right. Have y'all met any famous people? I was just going to ask them that. It doesn't have to be an athlete, but have you met anybody that's like pretty far up there? Because it's kind of wild. I'm not into going up to celebrities. If I see them in the airport, which is almost where I always see them, there will be other people taking selfies. But have you met any, Maddux, who would you say maybe the most famous person you met is? It's really funny. It's surreal when you meet them.
I think I met Steve Young.
Oh, that's a big one, man.
It was a Redskins 49ers Monday Night Football game, and I somehow, some way, took a picture with him.
That's cool.
I think that's the only one I really remember.
Yeah.
Steve Young.
Okay. How about you?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely like in terms of most famous from the DMV, Ryan Kerrigan, back when he was on the Redskins.
I liked Ryan.
He was my favorite player growing up. So I had his jersey, went up to him, got it signed, and then I got the chance to go watch the Showtime Clippers. I don't remember 100% if I got to meet any of them, but I was out in LA for a family event and was like, hey, might as well go watch him play.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
What about you, Kirk?
As much as I was going to let you go. We're both gentlemen. I've had a couple. At Dulles Airport, I was on an elevator for some reason. Whole women's soccer team with Mia Hamm, Brandy Chastain. And that was kind of starstruck because back in the 90s, they were rock stars. They won a World Cup. And then basketball players, a lot of basketball players. Alonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing, no Jordan. I've seen Bird close too, almost courtside, Kevin McHale. But I was going to make this point. In basketball, you can't appreciate basketball unless you're up close, how fast the game is. And if you're sitting courtside. So if you ever get to watch top level guys, you get a whole new appreciation, as well as tennis, which you can go to the Fitzgerald Tennis Center in DC. It used to be the Legg Mason. I think it's the City Open now. But to see a top-notch tennis player up close, it is unbelievable. Think of the best player at your high school, and they're like slow-mo. And then the other one is golf. I don't know if you guys have taken up golf. I didn't take it up till I was 30, but I've been to Congressional and I've been to the other one over there where the Kemper Open was. And if you start playing golf and you get somebody that can crush the ball like a friend. Think of them going up and hitting a 320-yard, just killing it. A guy on the Pro Tour will sit there and just barely hit it, and he's hitting it that way straight as an arrow. So I would just say that, not only seeing the famous athletes, but seeing the level of athleticism up close, when you're far away, it doesn't do it justice. So that's my take.
Yeah. For me, I won't say I don't get starstruck. I do appreciate being around people that have made a lot of accomplishments, but and so I don't always remember, like, oh yeah, I guess I did get to. So I'm more into, not did I just meet you, but did I like have a good interpersonal dialogue or relationship? So I'm like, I work at the State Department, so I like Hillary Clinton, she's Secretary of State. I met her when I was head of the I was president of the State Department's Foreign Affairs Recreation Association, but Condoleezza Rice, I was in meetings with her. And then, on the sports side, outside of sports, also Rick James. I tell a story before I was actually in the limo with Rick James one time. And you guys don't know who Rick James is probably, but he was a real cool dude back in the day. And then, it's people like that were sports stars that I've been around. Like at my church, Darryl Green goes to my church, Charles Mann. The pastor of my church is the chaplain for the Skins. And so I've met a lot of them when I've helped, they put on a football camp and I helped work the camp. And then there's also people like, I saw them before other people really knew they were going to be big. So the Whites could, like Michael Vick, when he was in high school, was going on a recruiting trip to UVA. My brother and some other kids from my brother's school, we were all there together. And I don't know, Sean Moore, again, these don't mean a lot to you guys, but he was up for the Heisman, led UVA to #1 in the country. So yeah, I've met a lot, and then I forget like Jesse Jackson, whatever. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, I've it's people I definitely look up to, but I guess the way I sometimes ask is like, who is in your phone and who can you text? That's how I get like, oh, okay, now you might maybe really know them. But anyway, okay, that's good. That's good stuff, though. You guys have met some interesting people. Let me now getting back to. So I've got two more questions for me. But one of them I have is, if you could have any superpower that like when we were growing up, there were like 10 superheroes. That was it, like the Justice League. And then it was those few people from Marvel, like DC. It was only a few decent ones. Now it's a gazillion superheroes. But what if you could have any one superpower, what would you have? What would be your power?
For me, it's teleportation, 100%.
Teleportation? Okay.
Yeah, to just limit travel time and traffic and make it like non-existent, or at least not important to you, by having the ability to just like teleport to any location. Like that just seems, it's something that like always just sitting in traffic. I'm like,
okay,
that wouldn't be a bad superpower to have right now.
Cool, that is a good one.
Maddux.
What about you, Maddux?
Thinking. I would probably say to be able to go back in time and
time machine.
Pretty much time travel.
Okay, that's a really good one. All right, what about you, Kirk?
I'm not big into the Marvel, all that, but I'd fly.
It's
man.
just a power. Just the power.
I'd fly. I have to fly.
What does he do?
No, fly.
Fly.
I would
say
yeah.
Okay, fly. That's kind of played out, because I think Hasan covered that with his teleportation thing. But
teleportation,
and you know
is
what,
just going somewhere, really.
Yeah, he's gonna. You just want to be there. I used to say that, but I didn't realize until I got older that I'm actually scared of height, so that wouldn't work well for me. So my superpower would be, it would come down to something that I could use and people not realize I had it, in like everyday stuff. So one, it would be either this. It'd either be Superman strength, like crazy, all that strength, bench stuff, all that, and people not know I have that. So then I'm playing football, I'm toting a rock, and I'm just stiff arming people in and knocked out. Or the one that I think would carry me the furthest in life is just to be super smart, like 100 times smarter than the smartest person of all time. And that, I mean, I would go, if I wanted to, I could make my own iPhone or understand at least, or I could solve policy issues in the government or cure something because I'm just so smart. And then I would read everything and get all the knowledge. So I would pass the bar just so I could beat my wife in arguments, or I would, whatever. I just want to be the smartest, like hands down the smartest. I'm kind of there now, but I just want to make sure that's a superpower. All right.
Hey, before we close, it's Wednesday night before the Sweet 16. Let's do a real quick round robin, and then you take us out. Pick a winner for the 16 teams remaining in men's. I'm going to pick Alabama. Hasan?
Yeah, overall, who do you? Yeah, one team to win it all.
All my brackets have UConn.
You got UConn. Okay. You can make some money on that one.
UCLA.
Not as much money, but Rusty, who you got?
I got Houston.
Hey,
I've got Houston.
Well, look, $1 on Princeton. If they win it, you'll die rich.
Yeah. Hey, look, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you all joining us. Now, before we close, is there anything you else want to talk about or you want to share or promote? Just this is your chance.
Say hello to your parents or anything.
I guess just stay tuned for Maddux's college decision.
Yeah.
Got to be stay tuned for a while.
Yeah, hey, look, man, I'll tell you, like I said, just enjoy whatever the process is, no matter what you do. Now, and for those that don't know, these guys are ballers. Like, they're legit. Like, we don't just get anybody on the show. They both are all region. And you both have had accolades. I know, Maddux, I remember seeing that you made honorable mention All Met. And so these guys have skills, like real skills. But as you can see, they're very intelligent, carry themselves well, and they can take a joke. So again, I really appreciate you all. No matter where or what you do going forward, don't forget us. And we don't have to have you back on for sports. If 8 years from now, you're finished school and you're running a business or you're doing something, come back on the show. Let us know how you're doing. Yeah, if you're running a camp or you want to plug it or you want to come on and talk about a cause or anything like that, we'll be happy to have you. Yep.
All right?
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so for my man Maddux and Hasan and my co-host Kirk Hilliard, this has been Rusty Byrd and the Kirk and Byrd Show. Yeah.